Hello! Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you guys so much for the support on the last video. I didn't expect so many people to see it, honestly. But I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the series. I'm actually really excited to make more videos. This specific video is just an intro to live2d and its tools. I'll be thoroughly going over how I rig more expressive eyes. But this video got a lot longer than I expected, so I cut a lot out and I put up little sticky notes on the screen for more information instead. I try to make it as beginner friendly as I could, so I do use a lot more simple terminology so those that are new can understand a little better. This guide is made more for you to follow along with me while you start rigging yourself, because that's how I personally learn better, so hopefully it works for you too. I'm also in no way a professional or know everything about live2d, so if you have any tips or tricks of your own, feel free to leave them in the comments. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask them and I'll try my best to answer. I do use the Pro version of live2d. When you first get it, you should have a free trial of the Pro version. After the free trial, you use the free version, which is pretty limited, but you can still rig a good chunk of your model. I'll have some tips throughout my videos of how you can use the free version more effectively, but if you can rig your model within a month, you can also just pay 14 USD to use the Pro version for a month. I pay around 90 bucks a year, unfortunately, but it is worth it for me. I also mumble a lot, so I'm putting captions on this video. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Okay, so here we are in live2d Cubism editor, not the viewer, we use that after. Your setup might look a little different from mine. So first we're gonna put in our PSD. So you go up to File, press Open, and then try to find your folder wherever you put your PSD in, and then just import that into live2d. This is gonna ask what resolution you wanna view your art in. They usually recommend half. If your laptop or computer can't handle too much, half is good. I'm gonna do full scale so it's easier to see everything. Okay, so importing it in, we see everything load in, and it might look a mess, especially if you have a lot of clipping layers like me. When you import something to live2d, it doesn't automatically clip everything yet. So we have to manually clip them. So let's do that first, just to clean up everything so it looks better. So you can click on the face. You might have something blocking your face. If you hover over something, it'll tell you what you're selecting. For example, I want to get this hair 1 right here, but if my hoge was a little too big and I couldn't find a right place to find it under my cursor, you can right click on it and then go to object at cursor and it'll show you everything that's under where you just clicked. And then I can click my face. And then under the part sections is where your PSD layers are. So it's formatted like your PSD. So I'm gonna put all my face shadows on first. So I'm selecting my face skin, and I'm gonna collect the ID, and I'm gonna control copy it, and then my blush and everything that goes onto that, I'm gonna select that all. Go to clipping ID, paste in the ID of my face skin, press enter, and it will clip onto my face skin. Now you just do that for everything else you have clipped, like the eyes and shadows and such. Okay, once you have everything clipped, you're gonna want to save your file. So you can hit Ctrl S to save, or just go to File and click Save or Save As. I'm gonna click Save As. Then I would suggest making a new folder that has your PSD and your .cmo3 file. That's the file live2d uses to edit everything, and just put them all into that one folder. I have one here already, so I'm just gonna save over it. And that'll pop up, and you can just close that. Make sure you're pressing Ctrl S throughout your entire process. You don't want to lose any progress just in case something happens. Next, we're going to organize our parameters so it's a lot easier to look through them all. Your parameters are under your parameter tab. These are all the default ones that live2d has, and they're already tied to the parameters connected to VTube Studio, so we don't need to change them too much. How I usually like to organize them is I make a folder, and then I will name it after the group of parameters I'm putting into it. For example, this one's going to be the angles. I'm gonna select angle X, and then shift click, put all of these in here. And then to make it easier for when I'm searching through the parameters, I make a new parameter. And I will name this something a little flashy. I put brackets, I put a bunch of dashes. Then I'll do the same name that I did for the folder. Press OK, and then it adds a new parameter. I'll put that at the top of these. This just makes it a lot easier for when you're viewing your parameters in a different format. You'll see it later, but trust me, it's awesome. So you can do that for all of these. And then once you're done, I like to right click on the folder and set group color. And I like to make them all rainbow. Pretend I put these all into folders. However, you can skip this step if you already have a preset set of parameters made. This is something I'll go over near the end of the rigging, but usually once you're done rigging, you'll have a ton of other parameters and other physics settings that you've already made, and you can actually export them all to put into other models, so you don't have to remake those parameters or physics settings again. You can ignore this part right now if you don't have any, but you can go up to modeling here, and then hover over bulk setting of model parameters. Now you can export your current settings right now if you want. These will keep all of your folders and keep all of your labels and extra parameters. And then later on, once you finish your model, you can re-export it and overwrite that export if you'd like. But I'm gonna import my presets that I've already made. I'm gonna delete all my existing ones. Now here's my parameters preset. I'm gonna open that. And then, voila! All of my parameter presets are now in. And I have a lot more, so don't feel overwhelmed about this right now. I'll go through it as we rig. Now I'm just gonna quickly color everything because it doesn't actually save the colors. Okay. I'll just do a quick view of mine. So this is how all my angles organized. I actually have my angles and my body angles in here. You'll see why they're called inputs later, but I'll just close that. And then once we have our parameters all organized, we're gonna organize all of our layers in live2d. We're gonna go over to the deformer tab. Now it's laid out in the same order as everything's layered on your folders and the parts, but there's no folders. This is where we put all of our warps and deformers that make everything move. Usually I like to start by organizing all of these into their own sections, so it's a lot easier and it's a lot more organized. You're gonna want to be organized in live2d, trust me. However, this process will be really hard if you're using the free version because you have a limited amount of warps. So if you're using the free version, you can ignore this for now. If you're not and you have unlimited warps, this is what we're gonna do. I'd go all the way top to my very first layer, scroll all the way down to the very bottom layer, hold down shift, select my very last layer, and then we're gonna go up to here to the create a warp deformer. Click it. You're gonna create a warp deformer. You can ignore all of this. We're just worried about the name. And I like to call this entire body because it's the entire body. Now you just create that, and I'll put this into a warp folder basically. You can open that and close that. And everything in this warp folder, if you have it selected, you can move. But since everything's in this folder, I can move it like this. And then if something wasn't in the folder, I wouldn't be able to move it. For example, if I took out like all of my hair, and then I grab that warp deformer and move everything, the hair does not move. So I'm just gonna do that for everything in this entire body deformer. Another easy way to do it is if you click and drag and then grab everything on the face, like that, it will select everything that you just put over that box. However, it does pick up things you wouldn't want. For example, it picks up the entire body warp. I'm going to hold down Control and select that to deselect it. And then it will also pick up parts that are not part of the head. For example, the body, the neck, and the neck shadow. And now I have just the head. I'm going to put a warp deformer on that and just call it head. Now I'm basically just going to do the same thing I did for my layers here. I separate everything into different folders. Like my ears are in a different folder, my hair is in a different folder, my eyes are in a different folder. I'm just going to copy those onto my warps here. I'm going to speed up the process a little bit. Okay, I'm finished. Here's an overview of my warps. We have the entire body, and under the entire body, we have the head, hips, torso, neck, legs, and arms. And then under the head, I have hair, mouth, brows, eyes, the face, and my ears. You can separate these even further, I will later. And then, save everything. Okay, now we have everything set up to rig, everything nice and organized and clean. So let's get to learning how to rig. We are gonna start with the eyes. I always teach people how to do eyes first because I think it's a good overview of how to use most of the tools. So we're gonna zoom on the face here, and then in your parts sections, you can click on this arrow to close all the folders. You might have to click it a couple times, but then you can open up your folders and then find your front hair, and let's hide that with the eye icon so we can see the eyes better, just in case your eyes are covered or whatever. And then we're going to zoom in on just one of the eyes. What we're going to do is rig this entire eye, and then we're going to copy it and flip it over to the other eye so it's symmetrical. If your eyes are both completely super different in both shape and form and just everything, that won't work for you. But if your eyes are just the same, even if you have different iris colors or whatnot, as long as everything else outside the pupil is the same, it will be pretty easy to just flip it over. And then you'll have two eyes rigged, super symmetrical, super easy, taking the time of rigging just one eye. So go over to wherever you put your eyes in. And first, I like to separate my left and right eye. Putting both eyes into their own folder also helps with the reflection process. But let's focus on one eye now. Either one works, whichever you're more comfortable looking at. I always do this eye. And they're also going to open up the eye parameter folder. Mine might look overwhelming right now, but we'll go through the basics first and I'll show you my other additional parameters that you can add in yourself. So right now, we're looking at the left eye of the model. A good rule of thumb is, if you're looking at the model and it's on your right side, it's the opposite side for the model. This is why I like to name my layers with arrows instead of left or right, because it gets confusing. So first, we're gonna rig the eye opening. Just a simple eye opening and closing. You might notice that my default dot is in the middle of my line, while yours might be at one end. This is because if you right click and click edit parameter, my ranges are different. Your maximum is probably just 1. I changed mine to a maximum of 2. You don't have to if you don't want to. Basically, the 0 means your eye is closed. 1, the default, is when your eye is just open. And then for 2, or you can put 1.5, that's when your eyes are open, like you're surprised or shocked. Just adds more expression into the eye. So you can change the maximum to 2 or 1.5, as a lot of people like to do. Just press OK, and then your dot should turn to the middle. And it tells you right here that it's at 1. If we go over here, it's at 0. If we go here, it's at 2. So before we can rig any of these to open and close, we need to add art mesh onto it. Select your art, any layer will do, and you can click on the auto mesher, and the automatic mesh generator should pop up. And you should have 3 presets: standard, little, and heavy. Usually I go with standard, so if you just click on it, it will make a little mesh. There'll be white dots everywhere, and if you've seen other rigging videos, they get pretty complex. But for my first little wash through of meshes, I select the top, hold down shift, select everything in this one eye, auto mesh it, put everything in standard. And then we'll get a bunch of white dots. Then I'll go back to my top lash, and we'll just get the dots of the top lash. But we're gonna rig the main lash part first. So usually the eye is pretty detailed. We're deforming a lot of things, making a lot of the art move in complex ways. So we want our art mesh to be a lot more complex. You can simply just do the auto mesher again and do a heavy deformation. This will add a lot more white dots closely compacted together. Your auto meshing might be a little off if your art is not a good resolution. But we can also manually add mesh if yours isn't working or if you don't like the look of this. The more you rig, the better you'll understand how meshes work and how you'll want your own mesh to look. So we can go to the manual mesh editor, click on that, and then it'll solo out your piece of art. You can grab your eraser tool, and you can also hold down B and then click and drag left to make it smaller, and drag over to the right to make it bigger. And then we're just gonna erase all of those little dots. Then we're gonna select this plus button one to add points. And usually I like to keep them pretty close. We're just gonna add a ring around the entire thing. And then close it off. And you see all these blue lines. But we're gonna want another line in here. If you have a tablet of some kind, it's great to use this when you're adding mesh manually. And then we can go over here to auto connect, and it will turn all those blue lines into the red line. So it becomes actual mesh. And then you can edit the points as you like. Like over here, it's a little too close. And I don't like these parts right here where I have my little lashes poking out. So I'm gonna take the minus pointer tool just to pinpoint which lines I don't want. And then add my pointer tool back in and put in the dots where I do want them. And then auto connect and fixed it. If you have art that's outside of the mesh, it will not appear on the model. Which is great if you accidentally have something like a little dot on your layer somewhere. When you auto mesh it, you'll see it somewhere. And then you can just erase it. And then once you press the check button, that little piece that you might have accidentally wiped on your canvas will be gone. But it's better to just make sure you don't have any of them because it will get complicated when we get to the texture atlas, which comes way later. So now we have our lash all nicely meshed. Then we're gonna add a little path tool. So over here, if you click on deform path edit, you can make your own little path. You're gonna put dots in pieces that you need dots. You'll understand better once you get used to it. But as a general rule of thumb, I like to do 5, 1 right in the middle, 2 at the ends, and then 2 more in the center. You can add more or add less when you start editing it. But for now, once you're done with that, go back to your arrow tool. And now we're gonna actually make it close and open. So having your lash selected, go to your respective eye, whichever side you're on, open. You're gonna add 3 keyforms. You'll only need 2 if you only did it up to a maximum of 1. But now we can start rigging. So at 1, as I said, this is the default. So this is when your eye is opened. And when it goes to 0, this is when we want your eyes to close. So we have this red box here. If you go to the center, you'll get this move arrow. You can hold down shift and then go up and down and left and right. It will follow an XY axis so that it stays in a straight line. So I'm going to hold down shift and drag it down to a general area where I want the eyes closed. And then I want to make this form into a closed eye shape. Now, this red box is going to get annoying, and sometimes you might not be able to click on certain things because of this red dot. So this is a bounding box, and we're going to hide it. So to hide it, you can just press this X button. Or if you want a shortcut, you can go to File, Settings, Keyboard Shortcuts, go to Show, scroll down until you find Show/Hide Bounding Box. I have mine set to Control H. Just click on it and then put whatever keybind you'd like. And then press OK. And then your keybind should be able to toggle it. So once you have it toggled off, you can move these to make your closed eye shape. You can do it free-handed. Usually I like to start with holding down shift and moving everything so it stays sort of aligned. And then I freehand stuff. Get the shape I want. And then back on your parameters, you can actually open and close your eyes if you drag your little dot. You can see if it moves well. See which parts you want to edit. See, I don't like this part here, this straight line I have here. I want it more curved down. So you can do that manually by clicking the dots. But it would be a lot smoother if you use this brush tool. You see here it has 2 circles, inner circle and outer circle. The center circle is the brush stiffness, which you see here. I have mine at 30%. Basically, anything in that center doesn't get warped too much. For example, if I grab all this, it will grab all of that. But if I just use the outer edge of the circle, it will only move a little bit. So you use the outer edge of the circle to make that line a little more smooth and cut it down. Now, if you want to see all the art without all the mesh and everything, so you can see if it actually looks decent and have a better look at it, you can actually hide and unhide the mesh. I have mine set to a keybind. Again, if you go to File, Settings, keyboard shortcuts and go to show, it would be hide selected state. I have mine set to H, but you can set it to whatever you like. And that's a lot easier to see how your art is moving and to see if it's looking the way you want it to look. I'd say that looks pretty good to me. So I'm done with that. And then press H to reappear my mesh. And go back to my pointer tool. Now I'm gonna basically be doing the same thing to everything else. For example, let's copy that entire process to the bottom lash, if you have a bottom lash. Don't forget to put keyframes onto it. So now my bottom lash done. I'm do my top lashes, add keyframes. For these, I don't really need to warp them as much, so I'm not gonna edit the mesh too much. And I don't need the path deform tool. For example, when I close my eyes, I want my eyelashes tilting down, so I'm gonna flip this down with the bounding box and then rotate it onto my eye, so it looks a little neater. And then hide my mesh, open and close it. And do the same thing to my side lash. Using the brush tool to hide this in. Now I'm gonna do the whites of my eyes. For my whites of the eyes, I usually like to keep my mesh really simple. I'm gonna erase all of this. It's a little hard to see. Okay, don't forget your keyframes. If you edit your art without a keyframe, it will edit the art permanently, so it won't revert back to anything. This one I'm gonna manually edit all the points. Now, the whites of my eyes get a little trickier because I actually have little spikes coming out to follow my bottom lash. It's just my art style, but if you have something a little complex and you want to line something up, for example, I want to line up the whites to my bottom lashes, you can select both of them. I'm holding down Control to select two separate ones. You can click on this solo button and it will show up only two meshes. So now I can select my whites, close my eye, and then better pinpoint all of the exact dots. And then click solo again, get out of it to see everything again. And test my eye. I have a little bit here that's a little wonky, so I'm gonna figure out what's wrong with that. That's good enough for now. And then if you have bottom lids or top lids like I do, I'm just gonna do those really quick. Sorry, my art looks a little wonky here, but the hair is gonna cover that, so I'm not gonna worry about it. Okay, now we have our eyes opening and closing. Now that we have those rigged and everything meshed up, we can actually do the eye widening process a lot easier. So if you go over to 2, we're not going to do eye widening. You can actually edit multiple warps at the same time. So I'm going to grab everything on this top lash and my lid. So I'm going to control click my top lash, my side lash, and my top lid. I'm going to grab the brush tool, make it a little bigger. I'm also doing this while everything's hidden, so it's a lot easier to see everything. And I'm just going to drag everything up to how I want the eye to widen. If there's some parts that are a little weird, you can actually just solo select the layer that looks funky and change these a little. My side lash go out a little more. And then voila, you finish rigging several layers at once. Fix my top lashes. Now I'm going to do the same thing for my bottom lash and my bottom lid and my eye whites. I'm going to fix my eye whites for the top part. And then bam! You have your eye widen, your eyes closing. Now this step might get a little more complicated, but it's something good to learn. When the eyes close and you smile, we're gonna want to make your eyes smile with you, so they look a lot more expressive. So you're gonna find your cheek parameter. You're gonna have a default cheek parameter somewhere. This is mine, but I just renamed it to smile, so it's easier for me to remember. Brown cheek is mostly for when you smile and then you get extra blush usually. But I just set everything I want to that, so I just named it smile. I'm gonna select my main lash, and then on smile, I'm going to add 2 keyframes. So at 0 is when we're not smiling, and at 1 is when we are smiling. So at 1, when we smile, I want my eyes to be more upturned. I'm gonna edit that. This is also where you can add extra path deformers or change your path deformers. Now we're just going to want to do that to every other part. For example, select top lash. Turn on the keyframe for smile. We're on 1. That means we're smiling. I want these upturned. Rotate them again. Stick them on. And then I can open my eye while it's smiling so I can see if everything looks fine when closing as well. And then there you go. We have our eye smile rigged. Just the closing one though. Make sure you don't have it rigged somewhere else. For example, if you have your smile rig on 0 of smile, you don't want that. However, if that does happen, for example, if I had this going on, see these eyelashes are going down, but that's supposed to be for this eye, and then they're going up on this eye. You can actually have that specific layer selected, specific parameter selected, right click on one of your keyframes, go over here to this arrow and click reflect. So that will turn it back over to the other side. Now you can actually make the eyes smile in more ways on the other eye opening. This is all depending on how you view yourself when you smile. For example, if my eyes are open and I'm smiling, I would want my bottom lid, bottom lash, my whites, they go up a little. You know, it's smiling and squinting. Also do this for my top lashes. This looks like I'm smiling a little more. It'll look more expressive when we have everything else rigged in. But that's just what I do. You can also add stuff for the eye opening. You can make the bottoms of your eyes winch up a little more, like you're smiling. Normal, smile, smile, normal, normal, smile. And you have your eye rigged in. So now we have all the smiles and all the eyes opening and widening and everything. Now we're gonna make the inside move. So go over to everything that's in your eye, minus all the whites and stuff. I just have my iris and pupil. I don't have any shines or anything. If you do have any shines, you're gonna want to add this. Have them all selected, create a new warp deformer. Now I'm just gonna name this pupil, but if you're on the free version, you're just gonna want to name this to the next one, which is, I'm selecting everything again. I'm gonna put this into eyeball X, Y. Now we're gonna navigate to our eyeball X and Y. There's a lot of fancier ways to do this, but this is just a really basic, simple eyeball XY movement. I'm going to add 3 keyframes to eyeball X. Having the eyeball XY parameter selected. Go over to the right, which makes the eye look to the right. So I'm going to shift and click, drag it, move it over. Over to the left. Shift, click, drag it over. Now it's looking left and right. Looking shifty. We're going to go to eyeball Y, add 3 keyframes. To the right, it's going to go up. And to the left, it's going to go down. Now it's going up and down. Make sure when you're doing the eyeball Y, you have 0 selected on eyeball X. You're going to notice that when you look to the right, and you try to look up and down, it won't work. Or when you look down, your eye's going to look crazy when you look left and right. That's because you need to synthesize the corners. We don't have the corners made in yet. So eyeball X, if it's on top, you're going to want to click link parameters. And clicking eyeball X will link to the bottom one, which is eyeball Y. Have your parameters selected. Now you're going to go to these bars over here and you're going to click on synthesize corners. You don't have to, you can ignore all this for now, but basically all you need to know that it's synthesizing these 4 corners. Press OK. Now our corners will be synthesized. Now if we go to this corner, it'll look in that corner. And if we go to this corner, it'll look in that corner. So now our eyes move. Now we can get a little fancier with it. You don't do this, but when I look to the right, I can make eyes actually as if it's going along a ball. And turn a little. There's a lot better ways to do this. I'm just doing this quick and easy. And then when we look up, I can make it look up. We go down, shift it so it looks down. And then you can re-link these, re-synthesize the corners. And then it'll be a little more interesting. Of course, as you learn more, you'll understand how to make the eyes fancier and fancier. If you have any eye shines or reflections that are separated, you can also put it to its own warp deformer. For example, if this was a little shiny part of the eye, you can do the same thing. So it goes over here. This is going to be a child warp deformer of the parent because it's under the parent folder. And it will follow the parent, but you can also move it to make little edits. For example, if this was a shine, I would want this to go on either ends. And it'll change like that. You can repeat the whole process, but for the shines, if you want them to look in different corners and everything, I'm going to delete all this because I don't need that. But if you do need that, that's all for you. So now we got basic eyeball XY. Now we're going to do fancy eye physics and stuff if you're into that. I'll just be going over a simple eye jiggle. If you like the eyelash jiggles and everything else that jiggles, you can copy what we've done here and just edit everything a little bit to jiggle the way you want it to. So I usually like to make my pupils jiggle a little bit when my eyes open. So again, I'm going to select the pupil and the iris, make a new warp deformer. I'm going to call this Jiggle X. And then while I'm on the same warp deformer, I'm going to make a new one on top of that. I'm going to call this Jiggle Y. This is how I learned it from someone else. There's other ways to do this, but this is personally my favorite way. I think it looks a lot better. So I have my jiggle parameters already. Jiggle X and Jiggle Y. All you need to do is click New Parameter, and then you can copy mine if you like. Name Jiggle X. The ID, honestly, you don't have to name this. If you're doing like a fancy commission, you might want to rename it. But if you're just doing a personal rig like me, just ignore it. My ranges for this one is -1, default 0, maximum +1. And it's the same thing for my Jiggle Y. You can just take your Jiggle X and then click Replicate Parameters and then edit it and just rename it if you'd like. It's the same thing. Now with Jiggle Y selected, I'm going to add 3 keyforms to Jiggle Y. When we go to +1, I'm going to take the red box, the bounding box, I'm going to hold down Alt. And Alt will make it so that both opposite sides will expand and shrink at the same ratio. You can also use Alt on these sides, and you can also use Alt on the corners to make it scale perfectly. But I'm going to use Alt. We're at 1, and I'm just going to drag it up a little bit. Then we're going to go down to -1, and just drag it down a little bit. You can make it more extreme if you'd like, depending on how crazy you want your physics to look. I just like a little jiggle to my eye, so I just did a little bit. Now we go to Jiggle X Warp. Add 3 keyforms. At 1 for Jiggle X, we're going to expand left and right. And then at -1, we're going to shrink the sides. Let's go like this. Now we're going to get into physics a little bit. If you go to modeling, you can open the physics scene blending settings. It's at the bottom. You can zoom in to the eye. And here you can actually click and drag and your eyeball XY should work. You can also scroll down here. You can see why we like the little parameter labels. It's a lot easier to see on the physics menu. But you can take your red dots and you can play with it. You can also go up to here, play the scene. You can do these random poses and press play. And it will move it by itself, so you can see how it would work in real time. Pretty decent, I guess. It makes it all move at random here. You can see all the dots moving. Since we only have keyframes on these ones, they have the red dot. I'm gonna pause this, reset my parameters to default. And now we're gonna add physics settings for the eye jiggle. I already have a physics preset, just like I had a parameters preset, so I'm just gonna import that really quick. Okay, so I have my eye jiggles here already. I'm going to show up my settings on the screen, but to add a new group, you're just going to want to click Add here. You can name it, I just call it eye jiggle. And then for your input preset, you can leave this blank. And then for your physics model preset, you can leave that blank. So now you have a blank canvas here. Everything here might look a little crazy, but trust me, it's simple. You'll get used to it. So first of all, here we have our input settings. The input is what you do to the model. And then the output settings is what the model is going to output. So when we blink, we're going to want our eyes to jiggle. So you're going to add, and then you see all your parameters. Find your eyes, and then select both of your eye opens. You can do separate jiggles. For example, like if you only open one eye, only that eye will jiggle. This is a little simpler because most of the time you're going to be blinking both eyes anyway. So press OK. And then we're gonna have two types here. Position is fine, and then effect is how much it's gonna affect the output. So since we just have two eyes, we're gonna do 50 and 50. The max is 100 and you have to balance them out. And then you're gonna wanna go here to the physics model settings, the pendulum settings. We're gonna add two pendulums. Press add twice. Now here are my pendulum settings. You can copy these if you'd like. And then up here, we're gonna go to output. We're gonna click add, and our output is the eye jiggles. So select both your jiggles, add them in. They should automatically go to pendulum 1 and then the second one pendulum 2. But if not, you can just manually change it to whatever. Now, if you go over to your keyframes, you open your eyes should jiggle now. And then that's a basic overview of how you would do physics. We'll do more advanced physics later, but for now, there's just a little intro. So you can play around with the physics if you'd like, but close out of your physics scene blending settings. Now you can also do extra little things with your eyes. For example, if I'm selecting my pupil, my iris, I'm making a new warp deformer. I'm gonna call this eye open. When my eyes widen, I want my pupils to shrink a little to add more to that shocked effect. So on my eye open warp, I'm gonna add 3 keyframes. And when I go to 2 and my eye is widening, I'm going to Alt, Shift, and click and drag to make my eyes shrink a little. Add that shock factor. Now there's a lot of other fancy things you can do with everything, but that's the basic eye that I do for now. Now, once you have your eyes all finished, let's copy it to the other eye so they both work. I like to go to my left eye folder, right click it, select child objects. This selects absolutely everything in that warp. Now I'm gonna hold down Control, copy, and then Control V. And that's gonna copy paste the eye. So now we have 2 copies of the left eye. Don't deselect anything, make sure you have this entire eye selected. You're gonna right click on this eye. You can click reflect. You're gonna reflect horizontally. And then there's certain things we don't want reflected and certain things we do want reflected. So anything that goes along the x-axis, anything that turns left and right, you're gonna wanna click. Everything else, ignore. Now it's gonna warp to this eye. And if you have it set up the same way as me, it should be symmetrical, especially if all your art is symmetrical. It will reflect perfectly. But if it doesn't, a good rule of thumb is to, let me close these. If you have your original other eye, you can actually do a little bit of a light box effect. For example, I'm gonna select the one we just copied. And I'm gonna hide everything selected. Now I can just see this eye, which is the original eye. I'm gonna go down to here and click on this camera button, snapshot. And it takes a snapshot of your current model. Now I'm gonna go back to the copied eye, turn everything on. And it's a little hard to see because mine is nearly perfect for its reflection. But if you move this, you can actually see the picture we just took under it. So this is really good for matching up all those pixels and stuff. Once you have your copied eye perfectly on top of the original eye, you can actually select all the child objects of the original eye and delete. And then we'll have 2 of these, so you can rename this to the other eye. And then if you go over to your keyframe for the eye open, now they both work. Oh, look, turn off snapshot by the second button down here. But now we can see both eyes. However, they both open at IL. But this is the other eye that we want to open on IR. So select all of those child elements again and go to the eye open. You can right click and then you go to this little arrow and you can click change. And this will change the parameters on IL open to whatever parameter you put it on. So we're going to put it to IR open instead. So that moves all of this that we selected. All their IL open parameters are now on the IR open parameters. And now I can make it open and close separately. And then to double check our eyeball XY, remember eyeball X is the one we didn't reflect, so it copies the same over. And it's working perfectly fine. You can also go back to modeling, play some random scene, see if the eyes work. And then we have our eyes done. And that's basically it for the eyes. You can put your hair back on if you'd like. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching through the tutorial. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments, or maybe it'll be answered in my other videos. My next tutorial will be about rigging everything else on the face, and I just hope this tutorial helped you somehow, or if you learned something new, or maybe you're just revisiting the basics. So happy rigging, and I'll see you guys in the next video.